Hi everyone, good afternoon. It is Sarah Shipton here from Scrapbooking with Sarah, and I'm coming live to you today on Tuesday, November 18 with this week's Technique Tuesday. And this week will be the last Technique Tuesday that I'm going live for the next several weeks, as I'm going to be taking some extended leave out of my office and enjoying a lovely holiday with my family to celebrate our son's 21st birthday and Christmas together. So I'm super excited about that, and I am working very busily behind the scenes to schedule all of our weekly scrapbooking challenges, so they will still be posted in our scrapbooking group here on Facebook while I am away. So let's get into this week's challenge. It is the third week of November for this week's scrapbooking challenge. We are creating a double page scrapbooking layout. We are using the sidebar pattern. So this is a new pattern that we're going to be working with over the next several weeks. And you will find this on page 40 of your Reflections Scrapbooking How To program. This is an older book that I have taken off the shelf, and we are going back to basics with our scrapbooking patterns. The thing I love about this pattern is that you can have your sidebar running down the outside of your pages. I could turn this around so the sidebar is coming through the middle. You could even turn this to have your sidebar at the top or at the bottom. Now, the last several weeks of challenges, we have been doing a technique called bottom border. So we have done that bottom border technique for quite some time now. So we're moving into a new pattern, and this is the original. This is the starting point for your sidebar how-to pattern. So we are converting a single page layout into a double page. You are going to need for your base 2 sheets of coordinating designer series paper or cardstock. Now, right off the bat here, I'm going to give you the first tip for my pattern for this week, and I have actually used white willow as my base. So my suggestion to you, if you do not want to use up your gorgeous designer series paper, whatever paper you choose to use, if you don't want to waste your paper, like I have not wanted to do in this instance, then my suggestion would be to use your white willow as your base for your cardstock, okay? Now, the reason I'm giving you that particular tip is that you are going to, it does actually say use 1 12 by 12 inch sheet of cardstock as your base. Oh, okay. I think I might be thinking of another layout that we've got coming up. So if you were to look at this particular pattern here, the base, if you look at this would have been the base. Okay, so if I was to recreate that exactly as it is said, I would be using this designer series paper with this gorgeous gold foil pattern as my base, and then covering 4 inches of it with another sheet of paper. Now, I did not want to do that, so I've used white willow as my base. I've cut the sidebar pieces out 4 inches wide. They're going to be 12 inches in length. You're going to stick that flush up against the edge of your page. But then I just did the math, and I've cut 2 pieces of coordinating designer series paper at 8 inch. So I've stuck the 4 inch here, the 8 inch here, and you can see where the 2 sheets of paper have met here at the 4 inch mark. And I've covered that join with the real red shiny ribbon, which I'm going to be sharing as a technique today, okay? So if you're not wanting to waste your beautiful designer series paper, then please use plain cardstock as your base or white willow. I don't mind that I've covered all of that white willow. And I've got this gorgeous designer series paper here on my particular layout. Sonia's joined us live today. Hi, Sonia. So great that you could come on live. I hope those notifications are working well for you. Okay, so we've got 2 pieces on the outside here. The next piece is a 1/2 inch strip that is going to run down here, but I've used the real ribbon, okay? So that's my technique that I'm sharing with you today. You could use 1/2 inch wide ribbon as well, or you could cut a 1/2 inch strip, or if you have got some zip strips left over from the papers that you're going to be using for this week's challenge, you could also use a zip strip. Now, the next piece of paper that you are going to cut is going to be a 3.5 by 3.5 inch box for your photo. Now, I've actually put my photo over here on the right hand side, and I have actually covered that with a little flip flap there. I didn't want it down here covering this gorgeous bit of designer series paper. I've done a little bit of an embellishment cluster down the bottom here using the Jolly Holly hybrid embossing folder, which I'll talk about a little later. So I've got a little embellishment cluster here. So I wanted to keep this 3.5 by 3.5 inch photo away from there. And I've put that on the other side of my layer. And then I've got that covered here with a 4 by 6 inch flip flap. Okay. So if you're wanting to do that, you'll cut that at that dimension there. And then you can fit a 3 by 3 inch photo on there. And then your largest piece is going to be the piece of cardstock or designer series paper that you're going to put your 4 photos on. Now, the cutting instructions say to cut that at 10 by 7 inches. And I have got 3 by 4 inch photos here. So if you were to cut that by 10 by 7 inches, you're going to have a very wide photo base. A very wide photo mat. And I didn't want my border to be that thick. So I have put the alternate cutting instructions in the comments in our Facebook group of where I've posted this week's challenge. I've actually cut this piece of cardstock here at 8 3/4 by 6 3/4. And that's enabled me to get, it looks better on this side. I've got here 4 photos measuring 3 by 4 inches. Okay, so that's what I've done with that piece there. And then pretty straightforward, you've got your 4 inch on the left hand side, you've got this 8 inch paper on the right. They're going to meet there together. I've joined the ribbon over the top. You could put a 1/2 inch zip strip over the top, or another 1/2 inch strip of paper over the top where they meet in the middle. And then for my large photo mat, admittedly I've just eyeballed that, and I have actually intentionally, I'm going to move into this now, I used the Real Red Shiny Ribbon over the top. It's a great tip to do that 1/2 inch piece if you're wanting to cover a join of where you've got 2 pieces of cardstock or designer series paper meeting. Now, my tip for you today was using this ribbon on your paper, and I actually used the Tombow Multi liquid glue with the finer tip. I used this glue pen on my red ribbon to stick that down, and my big tip to you is do not use it, okay? Because what actually happened was it stained the ribbon. You can see the adhesive through the ribbon. So this is why I have got this gold embellishment cluster at the top here and at the bottom covering mostly the ribbon. And this is also why I have got my photo mat. This is a large photo mat. Why I've got it covering over the red ribbon there. You can only just see it very poking out slightly at the top and the bottom there. I've intentionally put my mat over the top of that red ribbon to cover up. Now this glue is actually, the glue it dries clear, okay? But because the glue obviously is wet when you put it on the back of your ribbon, even after it dries, you will see where it stains the ribbon, okay? So my tip to you is not to use. There are some other really great ways of where you would use this adhesive. A few weeks ago, I did a whole Technique Tuesday on adhesives and different types of adhesives that I use for different techniques on my scrapbooking. This is not for the ribbon. Not the shiny ribbon anyway. If it was like, I feel like this one, like this ribbon, I've done techniques using this braided trim for that, for sure, absolutely, because this is thick but not for your shiny ribbon, okay? So on the other side of my layout here, you can see where I've got my ribbon coming over. It looks beautiful, and you cannot even tell where I've used the adhesive underneath. So my tip for you is to use the Stamp & Seal Plus. This is a heavier bond adhesive. I actually use the Stamp & Seal Plus for all of my photos, all of my cardstock, all of my designer series paper, even my embellishments, because it's very, it is easy to use. It takes a little bit of practice, but there are individual strips of rectangular adhesive on this runner. So when you're using it properly, the adhesive run breaks much easier because it's got these thin little rectangular strips of adhesive, okay? This also has a heavier duty bond, so it is great for 3D paper crafting projects and anything that you want to make sure you're sticking down really well. So I'm just going to slide my layout outside of the memory protector. So what I've done is I've got my red ribbon and I've put it over the join of where the two pieces of designer series paper are meeting, okay? And then I have actually folded the ribbon back over onto the back of the white willow cardstock and stuck that down. And you can see here where I've just got a scrap of white willow cardstock that I've stuck over the top there to cover that extra adhesive, but just given another little bit of a reinforced backing there. So that is my tip for you if you are using ribbon on your scrapbooking layout. And definitely use the Stampin' Seal Plus because you're going to get a really nice secure attachment, plus the bonus with the shiny ribbon where you're not actually going to see it through the ribbon itself, okay? So I would have put a little bit at the bottom and the top, and then some here in the middle. As you can see, it's not moving here, it's sliding a little bit here. You don't need to run the adhesive the whole way along the length of the strip of your shiny ribbon. You can just put it in incremental stages along the ribbon there, okay? So that is my tip for you. So when it came to putting the other side of the cardstock on my right hand side page, you can see here that it's obviously sitting on this white pattern of the designer series paper, and it's not overlapping the ribbon. So I've got this beautiful layout here where the shiny real red ribbon is showcased, and on this side I've covered it up. I will be honest with you, I tried to get it up and it was not budging, so we had to get a little bit creative. And you know what, embellishments and sticker clusters can cover everything, girls, okay? All right, so that's my tip for you for using the shiny ribbon. I did also note with this ribbon that one side has got this matte side to it, and the other side has got the shiny side. Now, I've actually stuck the shiny side down because I did like the matte side better, but you certainly could have it the shiny side up. It's entirely up to you. And I think the really cool thing with using ribbon on your scrapbook layouts as well, because it is a little different. Obviously, you've got that added advantage of covering where your paper joins are meeting on a layout. You can see here that having that solid color really helps to break up the two different patterns. So you've got this beautiful white pattern with the gold foil all through it, and then this really bright red, the cherry cobbler / real red vibe with the gold foil again. But having that ribbon separating the two, it just really helps to stand out. Now, obviously, you get quite a lot of ribbon when you invest in your ribbon. It's 1/2 inch wide, and you get approximately 9 meters of ribbon, so you've got quite enough there. But more often than not, when I have leftover ribbon, I use these if I'm making little gift bags or treat bags. For those of you that attended my Christmas crop, I made up all of the Rocky Road gift bags and actually used leftover ribbon to tie all of the bags as well. So there's certainly other ways that you can use up that ribbon if you've got it left over from your scrapbooking layouts. The other little tip that I wanted to share with you is the traditional sparkling sequins. These have been coming in and out of stock. I didn't check before I did this live video today, unfortunately, but I think they were currently available when we looked on Friday at the workshop. But if you go onto my online store and you want to add something to your cart and it says currently unavailable, there's a section there where you can input your email address and Stampin' Up with your permission when you tick that box, giving them permission. Stampin' Up will send you an email when the product comes back in stock. And I've used this feature a couple of times now myself when I've wanted to purchase something that's been unavailable. As soon as that item is refilled in our warehouse in Sydney and is available to order and add to your cart, you will get an email notification right away, which is super handy. So these were one of the items that I was waiting on coming back in stock. And you can see that I've added the gold sparkling sequins to my layout. Now, the thing I love about these is that they're flat. Quite often, a lot of the little gems, the little blings, are kind of like rounded, and so we call them, I joke and call them the little lumpy bumpies. You can get that little lumpy bumpy effect in your scrapbook album. I love that these sequins are a flat lay embellishment, so it's not going to add extra width to your scrapbooking layouts. You've got the sequins in gold and the cherry cobbler. You've got it here in the pool party, and this is not old olive. Obviously it's a much brighter green, but you can see that I've really enjoyed using the gold sequins on the layout here, and they've just added to that little bit of bling. Now, the other couple of products that I've used on my layout today are the Jolly Holly dies, and then that comes with the Jolly Holly hybrid embossing folder. So I did demonstrate this last week, and what you do here, I have run this die through my die cutting and embossing machine with the Jolly Holly hybrid embossing folder, and then I have fussy cut out these pieces of holly. So this is a great way to embellish your layout if you don't want to use stickers, or you might have just bought the designer series paper on its own without the sticker sheet. This gold foil, I had like tiny little squares kind of left over. I have used now all of my gold foil sheets with this beautiful designer series paper. The great thing about this, don't throw those little scraps out, because this is how I've been able to cut out these extra bit of hollies. And even the pieces of the holly where they're flat, I've actually tucked them in and underneath my journal box. And then I've got the word joy here in cherry cobbler. And again, I've just made a little embellishment cluster there and my journal box. So these are the two rectangular boxes, which you can turn into journal boxes. Most of the artwork on the online store, actually all of the artwork in the online store, shows you how to use these dies and a hybrid embossing folder on card making projects. And I really wanted to think outside of the square for my scrapbooking customers and audience and community, and show you ways that you can use these dies on your scrapbooking layouts. So they've been fussy cut out, and I did actually do that technique for last week's Technique Tuesday. If you missed out on that, you can watch the video back in our Facebook group, or just head to my YouTube channel, Scrapbooking with Sarah. So I've made a little journal box here. Now, the numbers were actually left over from my sticker sheet, which is just here. Now, I purchased the Keeping Tradition Scrapbooking Workshop kit, and I made the 3 layouts. You've got a lot of numbers left over here, okay? So I've actually taken the 2 and the 6 to make 26, as we celebrated Christmas on Boxing Day a couple of years ago. So 26 is not a number that's together, it only goes up to 25. So I've actually used 2 of my numbers separate there to do that. I ended up investing in a second packet of the designer series paper. Now, the reason I did that, I'm just going to grab my catalogue here. When you buy the Keeping Tradition Scrapbooking Workshop kit, the designer series paper that's in here is not specialty paper. It is just plain designer series paper, which means there's none of this gold foil embossing through the paper, okay? So if you turn to pages 22 and 23 of your Christmas mini, there is a packet of the designer series paper that you can purchase just on its own if you don't want extra stickers. Keep in mind, obviously, the sticker sheet that you're going to get in the Scrapbooking Workshop kit is the same as the sticker sheet if you were to buy the designer series specialty paper With the sticker sheet, it's going to be the same. So you are going to double up on those stickers. If you don't want to double up on the stickers, you can just buy the designer series paper on its own, okay? And this is where the traditional sparkling sequins are, and the real red shiny ribbon as well on page 22. So these products form part of the suite, which complemented with your scrapbooking workshop kit, and also complement with your scrapbooking from scratch range. So they're all designed to work together. I quite often will buy components that coordinate individually. So I did purchase a second pack of the, well, I got a pack of the designer series specialty paper. So the patterns are similar to what's in the scrapbooking workshop kit, but it doesn't have this gorgeous gold foil in here. So what I wanted to do today was also share, because these papers were coming in and out of stock on the online store as well. So the thing that I love about the specialty paper is that you've got one side of the paper which is going to have this gorgeous pattern on it with the gold foil, okay? And then on the other side, you've got just a basic pattern. Now, as if you would not want to showcase this gorgeous gold foil paper, but each to their own. This is an old olive striped pattern with the dots. And then on the other side, you've got these bouquets of flowers. And in fact, the die that is part of this suite cuts out these bouquet of flowers. I didn't invest in that product this time around. We've got some more gorgeous designer series specialty paper with the florals and the gold foil through here. And then you've just got a cherry cobbler dotted pattern on the other side. This would have been, oh yep, the back of that one there. So I've already used some of that paper. You can see here we've got the pool party. Now this pink here, I did use this pink bubble bath last week. Whilst it's actually not one of the colours that features in the suite, you can see here where they've used it, and it does look gorgeous. I did a pink and red combo last week. And then we've got a secret C pattern on the back of that one. That's the leftover of my paper that I've used there, and an old olive check. So that is the layout for this week's scrapbooking challenge. Opening presents on Boxing Day. I cannot wait to see what you ladies create with this week's pattern. I hope that that has inspired you, and especially with the ribbon, to try something a little bit different on your scrapbooking layout using this particular technique. And when you're doing your embellishing, using those stamping dimensionals, just a little reminder to pop them up and have some added texture on your scrapbooking layouts. Thank you for watching. Oh, Mel's joined us as well. Mel, happy 50th birthday. It is Mel's birthday today, guys. I hope you all give her a shout out in the comments below, whether you are watching live or if you watch on the replay. Mel, thank you so much for being a valued part of my scrapbooking community. I wish you all of the best for your 50th birthday today and in the year to come as well. Ladies, thank you all for watching, whether live or on replay. I hope that this week has inspired you. I look forward to seeing what you create this week. Please pop it in the comments below for this week's scrapbooking challenge. Have a lovely week, everyone. Bye for now.